So before we start talking about how ridiculous my mustache looks, can we talk about the possibility of having a life-changing next 20 minutes of our lives? Is it possible that there's information out there that you can receive that will blow your mind and give you a massive life shift very quickly, very easily, and through joy? So welcome to this today's talk, and I am so excited to share some information with you that changed my life so magnificently that I cannot wait for other human beings to receive and to use in their lives. So many of us are looking to have life-shifting experiences, and the question I ask you is, how willing and open are you in this moment to have this video shift your entire life? And are you open to having that shift happen with ease and grace and joy? Because there's no better way than that. So before we go there, what do you think of my mustache? I just came back from Burning Man. A friend of mine dared me to put this on. And when I saw myself in the mirror, I said, wow, it takes some guts to get a mustache that freaky. So I want to hear from you in the comments. You want me to keep it? You want me to get rid of it? What are your thoughts about the mustache? And while we spend time together today, I'd love to give you some information that is so transformative, especially if you're a person who's been praying and asking for big change in your life. In fact, the first time that I heard this information, the change that it created in my reality was so profound that my life went from one paradigm to an incredibly different paradigm within a matter of 2 or 3 months after I heard this information. You see, most of us want a life that is constantly improving. And most of us want to have our goals and visions and dreams and prayers come true. Now, not everybody is very intentional about what they desire. A lot of times you ask somebody, how do you want your life to be? And they give you very vague answers. And then there's others like you who are watching this video. And when somebody asks you, where do you want to be in a year or in 2 years or 3 years, you'll have a pretty specific answer because you're driven, you're motivated, you want to get to a higher level of your possibility in life, a higher level of potentiality in your life. And yet, if you're like most people, you are having a hard time really making big shifts, big leaps of faith. And so was I. About 4 years ago, I was stuck in a lifestyle that seemed to be pretty happy from the outside, wealthy from the outside, and luxurious from the outside. Yet from the inside, I wasn't fully fulfilled. And I was wondering when I'm going to get to a point in my life where I'm not only wealthy, not only joyful and healthy, but I'm fulfilled. And yet, so many opportunities that would come into my daily life, I was not able to capitalize on because of this very topic that I'm going to share with you. And what I'm going to share with you is that the identity that you hold limits the field of possibility. You see, most of us human beings, we take on certain identities because they are a place of security for us. Think about the identities that you hold, whether it's a businessman or a good son or a responsible human being or an artist or somebody who is a exceptional father. All of these are identities. And these identities support us because as we start to empower ourselves and become experts within the identity provides us a certain level of security and significance. Essentially, if you have no identity, it's really hard to find your significance, especially in the Western world where all of our success and achievements come based on what we've achieved, the identities we hold, the house and cars we own, all these things. So unless you want to be a Buddhist monk and go and meditate in the mountains every single day of your life, it's likely that there are certain identities, postures, and positions that you have really spent time and energy in developing, maximizing, and perfecting. And I'm here to tell you that these very identities that have given you the success, the significance, the security that you have, the same identity is limiting the field of possibility for the new things that you want to bring into your life. Think about that. How many times have you been offered by the universe, by God, by your friends, by your environment, an opportunity that sounded really great, but you're like, damn, that doesn't fit into who I really am? I'll give you some personal stories. I was a financial advisor for many years. I had spent so much time and energy becoming the top financial advisor. I had a office in Beverly Hills. Every single designer suit I had multiple colors of. I had shirts and ties in every single color. Beautiful shoes and all of these tools and all of this infrastructure that was supporting my success and significance as a financial advisor. And in fact, I was a top financial advisor. I was really good. I was making money, and yet I wasn't absolutely fulfilled. And every time I would pray, intention, or desire a higher level of fulfillment, it seemed like it wasn't getting a lot of progress. I was stuck. In fact, many of us are stuck in lives where we've invested so much on the infrastructure, on the identity, that we are trapped by it. How many of you men watching this video have a gorgeous home or a big home, and yet you're like, damn, I wish I could travel more often. I wish I could just move around and experience new places. I'm stuck in this beautiful home. How many of you have relationships that you've designed and built, whether sibling relationships, spousal relationships, friendships, and there's a part of you that's saying, man, I wish I could do more with myself in life, but it doesn't fit into my relationship structures for me to take certain risks. All of us have infrastructure that we've placed behind our identities because these identities provide safety, security, and a level of success for us. Yet, the very structures that provide us the security that we've been asking for are the same structures that limit the field of possibility. How many times have you had an invitation for something that you're like, damn, that brings me some joy, but how do I pull that off? I can't make that happen. There's too many obligations that I have that I've committed myself to, whether it's socially, whether it's your reputation, whether it's your sexual preferences, whether it's your dynamic with your family or your children, that limits you from actually taking a leap of faith. So here, what I want to share with you is, first and foremost, if you have not yet rated my mustache, this is a commercial break for you to show me, what do you think it is? Should I keep it? Should I let it go? Should I develop it into some new type of technology? I don't know. But as we get back to the subject, what I want to share with you is that every identity has a trap. So if you're really looking for the field of possibility to open, for new opportunities to come into your life that are miraculous, what you need to be willing to do is to surrender or relinquish certain identities that you hold. You see, if your identity is fully associated with being a straight man, a businessman, successful man, family man, conservative man, whatever you name it, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment on whether it's good or bad. Whatever those titles are the very titles that are limiting what else could happen in your field. So my recommendation today to you is to start to take inventory of what types of identities you've taken a lot of significance in. And a lot of us don't even recognize these identities because we've built on them so much infrastructure that the identity itself has become elusive. I remember I was at the peak of my financial advisory career, and I took a trip to Tulum, Mexico. I never been there. I never seen what it looks like. And when I got there, there was so much joy for me to be in that community, the type of people I met, the culture, the spirituality, the celebrations, the type of events that were being curated. I loved it. And yet there was a part of me that was not able to give me full permission to enjoy all of it because in the back of my head, I kept telling myself, I'm a financial advisor from Beverly Hills. I don't do this kind of stuff. And although it looks really cool, how do I justify it to myself? How do I allow myself to really celebrate something new and exciting when the thing that I own, the thing that I have become, has taken so much time and is in conflict with this new invitation? So, what I want to invite you to do is to start to see where you have identities, period. Forget about where they're blocking you, but what are these identities? Do you have an identity of being a tough guy, a resilient man? Do you have an identity of being a provider for your family? Do you have an identity of being straight in terms of your sexual preference? Do you have an identity of being very successful as a businessman? And are you willing for a moment to say, what would my life look like if I let go of all of these obligations? And if I allowed the field of possibility to provide for me some options that might be outside of my normal range of identity. You see, when I did that, I was really confronted with some questions and choices for myself. I chose to stay a little bit longer in Tulum on that trip that I went to. And I said to myself, what would my life look like if I prolonged my stay here? Wow, well, my business would get affected. Man, I don't have all my belongings here. I don't have a suit and tie to show everybody how successful and financially abundant I am. And I realized that I was in a disadvantage because my infrastructure was not a part of this new paradigm that I've been experiencing. How many times do you experience new people, new connections, new environments, and you grab on to your identity instead of saying, well, let me see what will happen if I just become present and make choices from a space of joy rather than a space of obligation, safety, and security? You see, when we make choices from joy, what we are saying is we are open to new possibility. And when we make choices from a space of security, what we are saying is, I'm afraid to make changes in my life. And so in my life, when I was visiting Tulum on this trip, I said to myself, am I willing to let go of certain parts of my identity just for a period of time? And of course, I can always take them back, but am I willing to relinquish certain identities? This is very important because many retiree people are very familiar with this. And also college graduates, very familiar. When you retire from a career that you've been doing for 30 years, where you've built up a certain type of persona, identity, and certain infrastructure, and you retire, it's having a complete ego death. It's letting go of all of the things that you held as significant and saying to yourself, wow, something new is about to happen. And my old identity is actually getting in the way of me having a joyful, free-spirited, healthy retirement. The same happens when we come out of college. Have you noticed, those of you who went to college, did you notice that like when you were in college, you had this identity of friends, style of dress, the coolness factor you had, and the type of places you would hang out. And then you graduated college, and the friends that you had each went their own separate way. Some of them went back to their own states, and some of them started new careers. Some of them got married. And you're like, wow, I can no longer cling on to the identity of college student. I'm beheading or killing that identity, retiring it, and saying there must be a new, better way. And only when you let go of your college ways of over drinking, over partying, and being associated with those things that we find important in college, when you let go of those, did you find what else is possible for you? So in this moment, I'm here to remind you that not only is my mustache funky, but that your life could be really funky if you were to start to look at where are you finding significance in your identity, and can you relinquish or retire it just for a period of time. When I started to do that, I went through a grieving process. I told myself, wow, I spent 15 years developing myself as a financial advisor. When I would walk into any group of financial advisors, I had what it took. Like nobody could mess with me. And there was a certain reputation that I carried with me. What do you mean? Let it go? And so slowly I started to go through the grieving process of relinquishing the significance that I found in this identity that I was holding. I decided I'm not going to wear a suit and tie just to see what happens. I'm not going to speak about my business and how much I know about finance. And in conversations, I'm going to start to open the field to see what brings me joy rather than what brings me safety, significance, and security. Aha. So that is my invitation to you. Will you and are you willing to start to take inventory of the identities you hold? And are you courageous and experimental enough to start to let go of your attachment to these identities, thereby allowing opportunity and possibility to come forth in your field? And as these possibilities and opportunities come in, you now have a more open mind, a more clear palette to select, all right, what do I really want in this segment of my life? Because the identity that I used to hold was from a past paradigm of security. I started that last identity years ago before I mastered it. And here and now, that old identity may not be serving me based on where I currently am or where I want to be. And this is a very courageous process, my brothers and sisters, because in this phase is called the ego death. This is where you are willing to let go of certain safeties and securities within your personality type, within your behavior, within your dressing style, within your facial hair. And you say to yourself, okay, let me shatter some of these old paradigms, even though I have no idea what the new paradigm, what the new safety, the new security is going to look like. It's called having faith. Faith means you are surrendering yourself to the unknown with the belief that something better will catch you, that something is here to provide for you, and that for every moment that you cling on to safety, for every moment that you cling on to that relationship that was safe for you 10 years ago, but now the relationship is kind of fallen apart and it's not elevating and supporting you. And you're like, man, I've grown so much spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, and this person hasn't. Wow, am I willing to surrender that for some time? I could always come back. And am I willing to let go of the glitz and the glamour of my past success and open the field to see where my next success can be possible? And in the field of possibility, the more you let go of the old, the more you let go of clinging to safety, security, and significance, the more options are presented to you. And some of these options are really outlandish. Somebody might come into your life and say, hey, do you want to take this trip to Croatia with me next week? I got a free ticket. And the old you might have said, oh my God, I have to be responsible. I have to talk to my spouse. I got to tell my job that I'm not going to be there. And I got to call every one of my clients. And likely I'm not going to be able to do it. So no, thank you. Instead, the new personality, the new possibility, the new space says, well, let me tune in to see if it brings me joy. And if this thing brings me joy, I'm not attached to any of my identities. Of course, I will take any and all responsibility for any pain that I cause to people who are relying on me. But this thing sounds like something I would pursue. And even though it's not conducive to the infrastructure that I've built in my life, in my personality, in my relationships, I'm willing to at least entertain it. And in that field, my brothers and sisters, is the field of growth. Your life will start to open and introductions will be made, conversations will be had. And I'll never forget one of my favorite quotes is, you're only one conversation away about having your entire life changed. One conversation can change your entire life. And so I bless you and pray that you allow yourself to identify and relinquish identities, and that you give yourself the gift of freedom, knowing that the choices you make here and now in today's moment are choices that are of higher frequency and more relevant to where you are and who you are right now. And that any choice you've made in the past, which you've been carrying from a space of obligation, pride, safety, or security, can be let go of with ease and grace, and that new possibilities fill the space, that new possibilities are able to come in, and you're able to evaluate them, and you're able to acknowledge them from a space of open mind, open heart. That is my message to you. So I bless you today with rapid, instant, joyful life shifts. And if this video shifted your life already, or if it just opened a door and you were like, wow, he's right. Where am I clinging on to some old shit? And where can I actually be more open-minded and ask God and the universe to present me with more options? And when those options come, I will choose them with courage based on what brings me the most joy, rather than what is in alignment with my obligations. And if that brought value to you, I ask that first you subscribe to this channel, that you also share this with your family, your friends, your mom, your dad, someone who's been really intentioning change, someone who's been really praying for a shift to happen in their life. And this could be the answer for them to let go of all of the significance they hold in their personality. And many of our friends and family members are holding an identity of pain and suffering. How many of our friends and family members are associating themselves and their significance with how much pain they can endure, how much suffering they can endure, how many problems they can solve? And so these are the people who need this message the most. And we bless them. We share this information with them. We support them, and we subscribe to this channel so that we can receive and connect as a community around these topics. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you.